Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing my monthly 2024 United States Senate election prediction. Let's get started with all of the safe states. There are some states that we absolutely have to talk about that are safe just because they're interesting. For example, Dianne Feinstein's seat, safe blue either way. I don't even think a Republican's going to win the blanket primary. There's way too many people who've expressed interest on the Democratic side. There is really nobody who, on the Republican side that's really noteworthy. There's an educator, I guess, but that's it. Adam Schiff, Katie Porter-O'Connor, they have all expressed interest in running for this seat, but that's only if Feinstein doesn't run. If Feinstein runs, then she will most certainly be reelected, because I really very much doubt that Republicans do end up actually making it to the runoff. So anyway, Washington, Utah, Wyoming, Hawaii, not New Mexico. I will get back to New Mexico. Nebraska, both of the Nebraska seats, which will be up for election 2024. And speaking of which, where the heck is the interim replacement when you need him? Okay. That actually does... Oh, yes. Indiana. We do have to talk about the Indiana primary because Mike Braun is not running. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's going to happen. I have to wait to do a 20... I believe you guys voted for 2024 election prediction. Go vote in that if you haven't already. But when I do that prediction next... I'm going to have to wait for somebody to get into the race first, because right now there's just been nobody who's really declared that they're running. I think Jim Banks is likely going to run, and Mitch Daniels possible. Eric Holcomb I very much doubt runs. Victoria Spartz, it's probably going to be Banks versus Spartz. Todd Rokita probably stays as Attorney General for right now. Trey Hollingsworth, who knows? Curtis Hill, again. And Jennifer Ruth Green shouldn't even be on this page. So I think it's really going to be Spartz versus Banks. I think if Mitch Daniels jumped in, it could really shake it up. Democratic side, there's really nothing. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch unfold, but I'm not sure exactly who the candidates are going to be as of yet. We are going to be getting some major announcements in this month of January, so we have to be on the lookout for that. Okay, let's do the remaining Democratic seats. I'm not going to do Virginia. Minnesota is safe because Amy Klobuchar, electoral juggernaut that she is, will easily be able to win re-election. Maryland, New York easily. New Jersey, actually, no. I'm going to leave that unfilled for now. Okay, that looks to be about it. So now we have to do... Gosh, let's go from the West Coast to the East Coast. Let's start off with Nevada. Nevada, I've been back and forth on this state. Wait. Okay, there we go. Jackie Rosen has declared. We don't really have any Republican candidates, so this is really quite up in the air, honestly, as to who runs. I don't think Adam Laxalt will run again. I think he's kind of done running for right now. He does have a potential shot at it. Joe Lombardo, he just got elected governor, just sworn in. He's too new to really be able to run. Um, it's really honestly hard to judge this race because I could see it going either way. I think DeSantis, assuming he gets the nomination, would do a really, really good job in Nevada and be able to barely win it by a tilt margin of like 0.5% or so. Because Nevada continues to shift to the right, and Jackie Rosen is going to have to deal with that, assuming that on the president's level, the state is about 1.5% closer. I'm going to keep this as tilt D and be nice to Democrats, but I really could see it going either way. Let's do Montana before we do Arizona. Montana really depends on who the candidate is. I think right now Jon Tester is favored to lose, but not by very much. I think if Ryan Zink ran, this would be an easy Tester hold. But Matt Rosendale would probably be a good enough candidate to where Tester could go down. Because Rosendale, sure, he may have lost in 2018, but that was like a blue wave year. I don't really see how that really has any bearing on this race in particular. Also, bear in mind, Jon Tester is a he's lucky. Let's just put it that way. He's lucky. I mean, if we look back at his prior electoral history, we can see 2018 blue wave year, 2012 Obama was on the ballot, and yeah, look at that. Let's see. Tester outperformed Obama by, it looks like, nearly 7 points. So Tester is definitely an overperformer. Obviously, to win in a state like Montana, he would have to be. But that really goes to show that, yeah, while he's going to overperform, the fact that Trump or DeSantis is going to do better in the state than Romney did, I think I just don't think he has a shot. I mean, I could see him overperforming quite a bit, but I think so long as Trump or DeSantis is on the ballot, it's going to it's going to have an effect on the election, and we are going to not see enough ticket splitting for Tester to be able to survive. Also, bear in mind, the reason he still won re-election back in 2012, this guy, Dan Cox, the Libertarian. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't see him winning. Plus, who is this guy anyway? Okay, let's go back. So, yeah, 1 to 2 point loss for Jon Tester, just because there is just not going to be enough ticket splitting. We're going to go down to Arizona now. Arizona is a state that I'm sorry. I don't know what to say about this. Now, the public policy polling shows Kari Lake actually ahead of Ruben Gallego, with Kyrsten Sinema polling pretty high. But Sinema is actually going to take a lot of votes away from McCain Republicans, who are willing to support her just because, she's supposedly moderate, so that's going to come into play. I really think this is a true toss-up by all means. I think the only reason I give it tilt R rating as of right now is likely because DeSantis is going to be able to win Arizona come 2020. He has enough establishment appeal to be able to get McCain Republicans to vote for him. He's not insulting to John McCain either, which, is important. But at the same time, he's got enough excitement behind him to get out the base, and I think that's going to narrowly cause him to win. I think also there are going to be enough people who vote narrowly for for whoever the nominee is. Now, it really does depend on the nominee, I will admit. Kari Lake has declined to run. Oh, she did, I guess. Mark Lamb, don't really know about him. Andy Biggs, Juan Ciscomani. I mean, these are all alright candidates. Kimberly Yee would probably be the best shot. She's not overly extreme necessarily. Juan Ciscomani might be okay. Andy Biggs is an absolute no. He would probably lose. So I'm going to say I was nice to Democrats by putting Nevada total toss-up as tilt D. I'm going to put Arizona as a tilt R, mainly due to the DeSantis effect. And the fact that DeSantis will likely just narrowly carry Arizona. We're going to look at New Mexico next, which is going to be likely D because Mark Ronchetti just can't resist running, can he? He's just going to he's just going to keep running and running and running. It's just going to keep happening, I'm telling you. See, prove me wrong come 2024. Also, if Matt Chicken is watching this, I know you're going to take these words and write them down in a little notebook and, like, keep them so that, like, in a few years you can come back and say, see, Mark Ronchetti didn't run for Senate after all. To which I will say, you know what, one more word like that, and you're totally banned from this channel. Period. Sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Chicken. I'm kind of mean. Anyway, Texas, lean R. Ted Cruz is utterly hated in the state of Texas. Dan Crenshaw declined. These people are all potential, but Ted Cruz is going to be the nominee, period, because he's the guy who's declared. John Love III seems to be the front runner because he's the only candidate who has really declared. I think DeSantis will help Ted Cruz win by more than he did back in 2018, sorry. So I think that will help him. But overall, I see Ted Cruz winning by a lean margin, only due to his unpopularity by probably 4.5% or so. We're going to move down, or actually up, to the state of Wisconsin, where it is a true toss-up by all means. Again, I don't know who's going to win this race. I'm sorry, I don't. We need to see who the candidates are. Mike Gallagher is the only potential candidate. Let's say he goes up against Tammy Baldwin. I think, honestly, he would have a good shot, but Tammy Baldwin is way more of an electoral juggernaut than Ron Johnson is. Ron Johnson only barely gets by each time. Tammy Baldwin won by like 11 points during a blue wave. I mean, she did so well. How did she even do this? Look at this. Like, what the heck is that? It's insane. Anyway, I don't see her losing. I'm sorry, guys. You know what? This is probably not even tilt. This is probably lean. I think it's going to be close with DeSantis on the ballot. I think there's going to be some DeSantis-Baldwin voters, and Biden's probably going to end up losing the state. But, yeah, I just don't see Tammy Baldwin losing. She probably wins by, like, a point or two. She would probably win by more if it weren't for it being a presidential year, but as it is, that's where we stand. Okay. No. We're going to go to Michigan. Michigan, the only candidate who is declared is Debbie Stabenow. She's not going to go up against John James because if that guy runs again, I don't know what I'll do. He can't run again. He better not run again anyway. It's easily a lean R race. What did I just say? Easily lean R? What the heck is wrong with me? It's easily likely D. Don't take that out of context, Matt Chicken. Just don't do it. Anyway, I'm sorry. It just doesn't work like that. it's going to be close, but I don't see her going below 5%. She is a very popular incumbent, and Michigan is a more blue-leaning swing state, if not completely a swing state even. The only reason it voted for Trump in 2016 was because Hillary. So yeah. Ohio. Oh boy. Oh boy. We got Matt Dolan, who's expressed interest, and Warren Davidson have both expressed interest. Now, Matt Dolan is a trash candidate. Not because I disagree with him on a lot of things, but because he just won't excite the base. I'm sorry. You have to excite the base if you're going to beat a popular incumbent like Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown did pretty darn good back in 2018 during a blue wave year, though, against kind of a weak candidate. This year, it's going to be harder for Brown to win. Let's look at what happened in 2022. In 2022, Vance won by 6.1. I think it's actually 6.5 if we look at the result on CNN. I don't know why it says 6.1 on Wikipedia. But anyway, Vance won this race by 6.1 to 6.5, depending on which one is correct, even though down ballot, Ohio went super blue. Like, sure, the governor's race, solid R. The attorney general's race, the secretary of state race, solid R, all of it. But you know what else happened? Here, let's actually look this up. Look at that. Steve Chabot lost to Greg Landsman. He's an incumbent, okay? He lost to Greg Landsman. So, that's already one district down that flipped. What else happened? The 13th district. Amelia Sykes defeated Madison Gisciato by a likely margin, despite the fact everybody, including myself, thought this race was going to be a lean to likely R race. What about District 9? Look at that. Look at that. J.R. Majewski loses by 13.1%. What? Like, guys, Ohio went blue down ballot by like a whole bunch. Well, it didn't go blue, but it was a lot closer down ballot. All of these incumbents, all these competitive districts went Democratic. All the districts that were supposed to either lean Republican went Democratic during this neutral wave year. And Vance still won by 6.1 points. What does that tell you? It tells you Ohio's going to the right, baby. So what else do we got to say? Except Brown narrowly loses. If I had to guess, I would say the best candidate would be Secretary of State Frank LaRose. However, Warren Davidson, he'd be an alright candidate for the Republicans, I'd say. I think he would do just fine. Matt Dolan, absolutely not. But Matt Dolan even could win, honestly. I think it's a toss-up between Dolan, but it's probably lean R. Also, let's not forget ticket splitting. You can't get the votes. You can't get enough ticket splitting with Ohio being like R+8, R+9, and then like Brown somehow still winning. Like, sorry, Brown can only overperform by so much. He can overperform by 7, maybe 8, possibly even 9. But there's no way that on the same ballot the state reelects him. So, tilt to lean R. Let's look at the state of Florida. Florida, Rick Scott is running again. Byron Donalds, this guy. We'll have to talk about that some other time. This guy, what is the deal with this guy? Anyway, Byron Donalds is probably not going to run. I think Rick Scott, almost certainly the nominee, because he's the incumbent, obviously. Stephanie Murphy, probably the most viable challenger to take on Rick Scott. Now, do I think Murphy has a shot? No. I think DeSantis is going to easily win this state, and it's going to be a likely R race for Rick Scott. Because DeSantis, as we know, is an electoral juggernaut in Florida. He won by, let's see, it was like 19.4 during a neutral year. And Florida basically came out during this neutral year as essentially being a red state, like a deep red state. He was able to carry historically blue counties even. So, like, what are we really going to say this is lean or tilt? Like, I'm sorry, Rick Scott is not Marco Rubio. He's no electoral juggernaut. But there is no way this guy comes that close to losing. I'm sorry, there's just not. Ted Cruz is going to come closer to losing than this guy. We're going to go to West Virginia now. Alex Mooney is the only major candidate, to have declared the race against Joe Manchin. I think either way, Manchin is screwed. I know people are going to say, oh, well, Mooney objected to the Electoral College votes in 2020. Let's not forget West Virginia is like a R plus 40 state or something. Do you really think they care that much about that? They're conservatives, okay? They're conservatives. They don't care if Mooney wanted to overturn the election. They probably supported that, for crying out loud. So, yeah, Mooney's a good candidate. There are other candidates. Jim Justice would probably be the best candidate. I could see Manchin losing by double digits if it's Jim Justice. But Manchin, yep, super unpopular incumbent. I see him still running, but he's very, very unpopular right now, or he was at least after the Inflation Reduction Act. So I see him losing quite easily against whoever the nominee is. We're going to look at Virginia very quickly. I think Glenn Youngkin actually could run for this race. That's the only reason I'm keeping this race as a likely D state. Just because, Glenn Youngkin probably does run. Chuck Smith filed paperwork. Don't think he really matters. Glenn Youngkin, in the end, probably the candidate to take on Tim Kaine, but he probably loses by a likely margin. Okay. Pennsylvania, there's really no candidate that can defeat Bob Casey Jr. I'm just going to say it right out. No, that was not what I meant to do. It's going to be likely D. Just likely D, okay? There's no shot. Well, that's kind of fun. There's no shot that they can really defeat Bob Casey Jr. Oz lost by 5 this year, which was really quite sad. But, yeah, I'm not supposed to say that. David McCormick would have easily lost by that much. Stacey Garrity, Pennsylvania State Treasurer. Honestly, she might be okay. She honestly, you know what? She ran. She could legitimately make this race closer than expected, but for the sake of argument, we're going to keep this in the likely D column, because Bob Casey Jr. is a stinking electoral juggernaut. Look at that. Wins by 13. In 2012, he wins by 9. And then he defeats Rick Santorum in a landslide. Like, what the heck? I'm sorry, guys. He's not going down anytime soon. He can be in the Senate as long as he wants. He could be 108 years old and some old man with dementia, and he'd still be getting reelected. Okay, just throwing that out there. I'm not really serious about that, by the way. Bob Menendez, I see this race as being likely because this guy couldn't even win by a huge margin in a blue wave year. Look at that. He won by 11.2 in a in a blue wave year, which like that's sad. He should have been able to win by way more than that, but he didn't. He completely he he fumbled the bag because he's unpopular. This guy's unpopular, so oh, excuse me. I think it's probably likely D, especially with somebody like DeSantis or Trump on the ballot. I don't think it really matters, but especially assuming that, you know what, scratch that. DeSantis or Trumping on the ballot makes absolutely no impact in New Jersey whatsoever. It does not stinking matter. Either way, it's going to be way closer than the presidential race because Menendez is just that unpopular. And so that is the map. We are looking at 14 seats for Republicans, 19 for Democrats. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll see you later. Bye.